I'm Amanda Martinez, 26 years old, and 18 months ago, my family publicly humiliated me at my MBA graduation dinner by telling me I wasn't welcome in our family construction business. Last week, I signed the papers that made me the majority owner of Martinez Construction, and my first executive decision was terminating every family member who thought I wasn't good enough. The company they said would never be mine now bears my signature on every major contract, and the people who dismissed my potential are learning that underestimating someone doesn't make them disappear, it just makes them more dangerous. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Martinez Construction wasn't just our family business. It was the foundation upon which our entire identity was built, quite literally. My grandfather, Roberto Martinez, arrived in Phoenix from Guadalajara in 1978 with nothing but construction, experience, and an unshakable work ethic. He started by laying concrete driveways for suburban developments, working 18-hour days under the blazing Arizona sun until his hands bled and his back screamed. Within 3 years, he had saved enough to buy his first cement mixer and hire 2 other immigrant workers who shared his hunger for the American dream. Roberto's breakthrough came during the Phoenix construction boom of the early 80s. While other contractors cut corners to maximize profits, he built a reputation for quality that lasted decades beyond the initial construction. His concrete foundations never cracked, his framing never warped, and his electrical work never failed inspection. Word spread through the rapidly expanding neighborhoods of Scottsdale and Tempe that if you wanted construction done right the first time, you called Martinez Construction. By 1990, Roberto had built the company into a regional powerhouse with 47 employees and contracts for major commercial projects throughout the Southwest. Shopping centers, office buildings, and residential developments across Arizona bore the Martinez Construction stamp of quality. The business that started with one man's determination to provide for his family had grown into a multi-million-dollar operation that employed entire neighborhoods and helped build the modern skyline of Phoenix. When my father Miguel took over operations in 1995, Martinez Construction expanded into luxury home construction and high-end commercial renovations. Miguel inherited his father's perfectionist standards, but added a sophisticated understanding of modern construction technology and project management. Under his leadership, the company began winning contracts for exclusive resort developments in Sedona and luxury residential projects in Paradise Valley, where homes sold for millions and clients expected flawless execution. My mother, Carmen, initially handled the administrative side of the business while raising 4 children, but her sharp instincts for negotiation and client relations eventually positioned her as Miguel's equal partner in all major decisions. Carmen possessed an almost supernatural ability to read clients and competitors, knowing exactly when to push for better terms and when to walk away from problematic contracts. The combination of Miguel's technical expertise and Carmen's business acumen transformed Martinez Construction from a successful local company into one of Arizona's most respected construction firms. Growing up in this environment meant that construction sites were our playgrounds, and job trailers were our second homes. While other kids spent summer vacations at camps or family trips, the Martinez children learned to read blueprints, understand building codes, and recognize quality craftsmanship. My 10th birthday party was held at the construction site of a new shopping center, because it was the only place my parents could take a break from supervising the project. I learned to calculate square footage before I learned long division, and I could identify structural problems that would cost thousands to fix while my classmates were still struggling with basic mathematics. My older brother Carlos, 3 years my senior, was positioned as the natural heir from childhood. Miguel constantly praised Carlos's leadership potential and natural charisma with subcontractors, even when his impulsive decisions led to costly mistakes. Carlos possessed the kind of confident personality that impressed clients during initial meetings, but he lacked the patience and attention to detail that construction management required. His tendency to promise completion dates without consulting project timelines regularly created chaos that other family members had to resolve. My younger sister, Elena, wanted nothing to do with the construction world and made that clear from adolescence. She was drawn to artistic pursuits and announced at 16 that she planned to study graphic design and move to California after college. The family treated Elena's rejection of the business as a temporary rebellion that she would eventually outgrow, but Elena remained firm in her decision to pursue creative work rather than concrete and steel. My youngest brother David was only 12 when I graduated college, but even then, family conversations often centered around his potential future role in the company. Miguel would point out David's mechanical aptitude and natural curiosity about how things worked, suggesting that he might eventually handle the technical aspects of major projects. This left me as the middle child who understood every aspect of the business but struggled to find my defined place within the family hierarchy. I chose business administration with a construction management focus specifically to bring professional expertise back to Martinez Construction. While Carlos dropped out of Arizona State University after 2 semesters to work full-time on job sites, I was studying advanced project management, construction law, and sustainable building practices. During semester breaks, I would present detailed analyses of our operational efficiency and suggestions for incorporating new technologies that could reduce costs and improve safety standards. My academic projects consistently focused on real problems within our family business. For my junior year capstone project, I conducted a comprehensive analysis of our supply chain management and identified inefficiencies that were costing Martinez Construction approximately 15% in unnecessary expenses annually. My recommendations included vendor consolidation strategies and bulk purchasing agreements that could save the company over $200,000 per year. When I presented these findings to my parents, they listened politely, but seemed more interested in discussing Carlos's latest successful client interaction than implementing systematic improvements. During my senior year, I completed an internship with Henley Construction, one of the largest general contractors in the Southwest, specifically to gain outside perspective that I could bring back to Martinez Construction. The internship exposed me to cutting-edge project management software, advanced safety protocols, and client relationship systems that were far more sophisticated than anything we were using. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. I documented every innovation and best practice, creating detailed implementation plans that could modernize our operations without disrupting our core business model. The construction industry was rapidly evolving with new technologies and stricter environmental regulations, but Martinez Construction was falling behind competitors who embraced change more readily. Our project management systems were still largely paper-based, our safety protocols hadn't been updated in over 5 years, and our bidding process relied heavily on Miguel's experience rather than data-driven analysis. I recognized that the company needed systematic modernization to remain competitive, and I believed my education had prepared me to lead that transformation. My return to Phoenix after graduation was met with enthusiasm from my parents, who organized a family celebration, dinner at our favorite restaurant to commemorate my achievement. I was genuinely excited to finally contribute to Martinez Construction as an educated professional, rather than just another family member helping out during busy periods. The dinner conversation initially focused on my academic accomplishments and the knowledge I was eager to apply to our business challenges. The atmosphere shifted when I began discussing specific improvements I wanted to implement immediately. I had prepared a presentation outlining our operational inefficiencies and proposed solutions that could increase profitability while improving safety standards and client satisfaction. 5 minutes into my explanation of how we could streamline our project timeline management, Carlos interrupted with concerns about changing systems that were already working effectively. Miguel seemed uncomfortable with my detailed analysis of our cost overruns, and suggested that I needed to understand the practical realities of construction work before proposing theoretical solutions. Carmen questioned whether implementing new technologies would alienate longtime subcontractors who preferred traditional approaches. The enthusiastic welcome quickly transformed into subtle resistance to every suggestion I offered. The tension escalated when I presented data showing that Martinez Construction's profit margins were below industry standards and that several competitors were winning contracts by underbidding us while maintaining higher profitability through superior efficiency. Carlos accused me of criticizing the family business instead of appreciating its success, while Miguel suggested that my college education had given me unrealistic expectations about how construction companies actually operated. Carmen attempted to mediate by acknowledging that some of my ideas had merit, but emphasized that implementing changes required careful consideration of our established relationships and reputation. The celebration dinner that was supposed to mark my entry into the family business instead became a debate about whether my education was an asset or a liability to Martinez Construction's future. Over the following weeks, I attempted to prove my value by volunteering for additional responsibilities and demonstrating the practical applications of my academic training. I arrived at job sites early and stayed late, working alongside crews to understand every aspect of our operations firsthand. I reviewed contracts, analyzed project timelines, and identified potential problems before they became costly mistakes. My efforts to contribute were consistently met with polite dismissal or subtle undermining. When I suggested that we were overpaying for materials due to poor vendor negotiations, Miguel told me that maintaining good relationships with suppliers was more important than saving money on individual purchases. When I identified safety violations that could result in expensive fines, Carlos claimed that experienced workers knew how to stay safe without following every bureaucratic regulation. The most frustrating aspect of my position was watching preventable problems occur repeatedly while my suggestions for solutions were ignored. A project in Tempe experienced significant delays because our scheduling system failed to account for material delivery timelines. Exactly the type of problem that proper project management software could eliminate. A commercial renovation in Tide, Scottsdale exceeded budget by 30% due to poor initial cost estimation, despite my having developed more accurate bidding methodologies during my internship. Each time these predictable problems occurred, I would remind my family that I had proposed solutions that could prevent similar issues in the future. Their response was always the same. Construction work involved unpredictable challenges that couldn't be solved through academic theories or computer programs. The implication was clear that my education was irrelevant to the practical realities of running a successful construction company. The exclusion became more systematic as months passed. Family meetings about major projects would be scheduled when I was working on other job sites, with decisions made and communicated to me after the fact. Miguel and Carlos would visit client sites together to discuss new contracts, while I was assigned to supervise routine maintenance work that didn't require decision-making authority. My suggestions for process improvements were consistently postponed for future consideration that never materialized. The pattern extended beyond business operations into family dynamics. Miguel would praise Carlos publicly for successfully managing projects that I had actually coordinated behind the scenes, ensuring that timelines were met and problems were resolved before they became visible. When construction industry publications interviewed Miguel about Martinez Construction's continued success, he would credit the company's commitment to traditional values and experienced leadership without mentioning my contributions to recent improvements. My attempts to address these issues directly were met with accusations that I was being overly sensitive and competitive with Carlos instead of supporting family unity. Carmen would remind me that Carlos had been working in construction since high school and deserved recognition for his dedication, while suggesting that I needed to be more patient about earning my place within the company hierarchy. The breaking point approached during our annual strategic planning retreat, traditionally held at a resort in Sedona, where the family would review the previous year's performance and set goals for the coming year. I had spent weeks preparing comprehensive analyses of our market position, competitive advantages, and growth opportunities. My presentation included detailed financial projections and implementation timelines for initiatives that could significantly expand our market share. I arrived at the retreat eager to finally demonstrate the value of my business education and my deep understanding of the construction industry. Instead, I discovered that Miguel and Carlos had already conducted preliminary planning sessions, without me developing a 5-year growth strategy that ignored most of the opportunities I had identified. When I questioned why major decisions were being made without input from someone with formal training in strategic planning, Miguel responded, "That experience trumped education in the construction business." The final humiliation came when Carmen presented organizational charts showing my role significantly reduced in scope and authority. My responsibilities would be limited to administrative support and junior project coordination, while Carlos would assume control of all major client relationships and strategic decisions. When I pointed out that this structure failed to utilize my education and expertise effectively, Miguel said that I needed to prove myself in basic operations before taking on advanced responsibilities. That evening, alone in my hotel room overlooking the red rocks of Sedona, I finally accepted what my heart had been denying for months. Despite my education, dedication, and clear competence, my family had already decided that my role in Martinez Construction would be subordinate to Carlos, regardless of my qualifications or contributions. The question was no longer whether I could earn respect within the family business, but whether I was willing to accept permanent second-class status in exchange for belonging to something that no longer valued my potential. The promise I made to myself that night in Sedona was simple but transformative. I would no longer beg for recognition from people who had already decided my worth. Instead, I would demonstrate exactly what they were losing by dismissing my potential. The construction industry that my family believed belonged exclusively to men with calloused hands and decades of experience was about to discover that intelligence, education, and strategic thinking could be just as powerful as tradition and stubbornness. My decision to prove myself outside Martinez Construction wasn't born from spite, though I won't pretend that anger didn't fuel my initial motivation. It came from a deeper realization that I had been trying to fit myself into a space that was never designed to accommodate my strengths. My family valued loyalty and conformity over innovation and growth, which meant that my contributions would always be seen as threats to their established order rather than opportunities for advancement. The construction industry in Phoenix was experiencing unprecedented growth, with new residential developments and commercial projects breaking ground every month. Population increases from California and other states created constant demand for housing, office space, and retail facilities. This expansion created opportunities for contractors who could adapt quickly to changing market conditions and client expectations, precisely the type of strategic thinking that my family had consistently dismissed as academic nonsense. I began researching our competitors systematically, analyzing their project portfolios, client relationships, and operational strategies. What I discovered was both encouraging and alarming. Several newer construction companies were winning contracts from longtime Martinez Construction clients by offering superior project management, transparent communication, and innovative solutions to common construction challenges. These companies weren't necessarily more experienced or better connected than Martinez Construction, but they understood that modern clients expected professionalism and efficiency alongside quality workmanship. The most successful competitor was Phoenix Premier Construction, a company founded just 5 years earlier by Sarah Chen, a civil engineering graduate who had previously worked for large national contractors. Sarah's company had grown from startup to major regional player by focusing on technology integration, environmental sustainability, and client education. Her projects consistently finished on time and under budget, not because she cut corners, but because she used advanced planning software and systematic quality control that prevented expensive mistakes and delays. Sarah Chen became my model, for what was possible in the construction industry when traditional approaches were combined with modern business practices. Her success proved that clients would choose competence over connections when given clear alternatives. More importantly, her example showed that a woman could build credibility in the construction industry by delivering superior results rather than trying to fit into existing masculine culture. I spent months studying every aspect of Sarah's business model, from her marketing strategies to her subcontractor relationships. She maintained a professional website with detailed project galleries and client testimonials, something that Martinez Construction still considered unnecessary because we relied on word-of-mouth referrals. Her proposals included detailed timelines, cost breakdowns, and regular progress reports that kept clients informed throughout the construction process. Her crews received ongoing safety training and used the latest equipment, which reduced accidents and increased productivity. The contrast between Sarah's approach and Martinez Construction's methods became more apparent every day. We still conducted most business through handshake agreements and informal relationships, which worked well with longtime clients, but limited our ability to attract new customers who expected professional documentation and transparent processes. Our project management consisted primarily of Miguel's experience and intuition, which was effective but not scalable as the company faced larger and more complex projects. My research also revealed that Martinez Construction was gradually losing market share to competitors who better understood changing client expectations. 3 major clients had switched to other contractors in the past year, citing communication problems and project delays that could have been prevented with better planning and coordination. Our reputation for quality remained strong, but reputation alone was no longer sufficient to guarantee continued success in an increasingly competitive market. The knowledge I gained from studying our competitors and industry trends gave me confidence that I could succeed independently if given the opportunity. My education had provided me with theoretical knowledge, but my months of detailed market analysis had given me practical understanding of what clients actually wanted from construction contractors. The combination of academic training and real-world research created a foundation for building something better than what my family was willing to consider. My first step toward independence was establishing relationships within the construction industry outside of Martinez Construction's immediate network. I joined the Arizona Construction Association and began attending monthly meetings where contractors, suppliers, and industry professionals discussed market trends and business challenges. These meetings provided opportunities to learn from successful contractors and identify potential mentors who could guide my professional development. The networking events initially felt intimidating because most attendees were older men who had built their careers through traditional apprenticeship paths. However, I quickly discovered that many industry professionals were eager to share their knowledge with someone who showed genuine interest in learning and improving. My questions about project management software, sustainable building practices, and client communication strategies generated helpful conversations that expanded my understanding of modern construction business. Several contractors mentioned that they struggled to find qualified project managers who understood both technical construction requirements and professional business practices. The construction industry was experiencing a shortage of educated professionals who could bridge the gap between field operations and client expectations. This shortage created opportunities for someone with my background to provide valuable services to contractors who needed professional management support. One conversation particularly influenced my thinking about potential career paths. James Morrison, owner of Desert Vista Construction, mentioned that he was considering hiring a project management consultant to help coordinate his growing portfolio of residential developments. James had excellent relationships with subcontractors and suppliers, but he lacked the administrative skills necessary to manage multiple concurrent projects effectively. His projects were profitable, but often ran behind schedule because he couldn't dedicate sufficient time to planning and coordination. James's situation was common among smaller construction companies that had grown beyond their original capacity, but weren't large enough to justify hiring full-time administrative staff. These companies needed professional project management services, but couldn't afford the overhead of permanent employees with advanced business training. The gap between what these contractors needed and what they could afford represented a significant business opportunity for someone with my qualifications. I began developing a business plan for a construction project management consulting service that could serve multiple smaller contractors simultaneously. The concept involved providing professional project coordination, client communication, and administrative support to contractors who preferred to focus on field operations rather than paperwork and scheduling. This approach would allow me to utilize my business education while gaining experience with diverse projects and client relationships. The consulting model offered several advantages over traditional employment with established construction companies. I would maintain independence while building relationships throughout the industry, creating opportunities to demonstrate my capabilities to multiple potential clients rather than being limited to one company's projects. The variety of projects and contractors would accelerate my learning and provide comprehensive experience that would be valuable for future business ventures. Developing the business plan required extensive research into pricing models, service offerings, and legal requirements for consulting services. I studied successful consulting firms in other industries to understand how they structured client relationships and delivered value. I also researched insurance requirements, licensing procedures, and professional certification programs that would establish credibility within the construction industry. The financial projections for the consulting business were encouraging. Small to medium-sized contractors typically spent significant amounts on project delays, cost overruns, and administrative inefficiencies that professional management could eliminate. My services could easily pay for themselves by preventing common mistakes and improving operational efficiency. The potential for success was limited only by my ability to demonstrate value and build client relationships. As my business plan developed, I realized that launching the consulting service would require initial capital for office space, equipment, software, and marketing materials. My savings from working at Martinez Construction provided some startup funding, but I would need additional financing to establish a professional operation that could compete effectively for clients. This financial requirement led me to consider approaching banks or investors who might support a well-planned venture in a growing industry. The process of developing a comprehensive business plan also clarified my long-term goals beyond simply proving my worth to my family. I wanted to build something significant that would contribute to the construction industry's evolution toward more professional and efficient practices. My vision extended beyond personal success to creating a model that other educated professionals could follow when entering the traditionally male-dominated construction field. My research into industry trends revealed that construction was becoming increasingly complex due to new building codes, environmental regulations, and client expectations for sustainable practices. These changes favored contractors who could adapt quickly and manage complexity effectively, precisely the type of challenges that required business education and systematic thinking. The industry was gradually moving away from informal, relationship-based practices toward more professional standards that valued competence over connections. This evolution created opportunities for professionals who could bridge traditional construction expertise with modern business practices. My background provided exactly that combination of technical knowledge and professional training, positioning me to capitalize on industry changes that favored education and innovation over tradition and resistance to change. The months of research and planning gave me confidence that I could succeed independently, while also clarifying how much potential I was wasting by accepting a subordinate role at Martinez Construction. My family's construction company was well-positioned to benefit from industry trends, but only if they were willing to embrace change and modernization. Their refusal to consider my suggestions wasn't just personal rejection, it was a strategic mistake that would eventually cost them market share and profitability. My commitment to proving myself outside the family business wasn't about revenge or spite, though I admit those emotions provided initial motivation. It was about demonstrating that dismissing educated professionals was a luxury that construction companies could no longer afford in an increasingly competitive and complex industry. My family would eventually discover that their traditional approaches were insufficient for future success, and by then, I would be positioned to show them exactly what they had lost by underestimating my potential. The decision to launch my consulting business represented more than career change. It was a declaration of independence from family expectations and industry traditions that limited opportunities for educated professionals. I was betting on my ability to succeed through competence and innovation rather than connections and conformity. The stakes were significant because failure would confirm my family's belief that education was irrelevant to construction success, while success would prove that the industry needed exactly the type of professional expertise they had rejected. My months of preparation and planning culminated in a comprehensive business strategy that addressed every aspect of launching and operating a successful consulting firm. I had identified target clients, developed service offerings, established pricing models, and created marketing materials that positioned my services as essential for contractors who wanted to remain competitive in a changing industry. The foundation was solid, and I was ready to begin building something that would exceed everything my family thought possible for someone they considered too educated for construction work. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was using exactly the type of systematic planning and strategic thinking that Martinez Construction desperately needed, but consistently rejected. My business plan demonstrated the value of professional approach to market analysis, competitive positioning, and operational planning that could have transformed the family company if they had been willing to listen. Instead, their dismissal of my capabilities had motivated me to apply those same skills to building direct competition that would eventually challenge their market position. My final preparations for launching the consulting business included establishing professional credentials that would reassure potential clients about my competence and reliability. I completed advanced certification programs in project management and construction safety, ensuring that my qualifications were current and comprehensive. I also established relationships with insurance providers, accounting services, and legal advisors who could support the business operations and provide credibility through their professional associations. The excitement I felt about finally implementing my business plan was matched by nervousness about the challenges ahead. I was entering a competitive industry as an independent professional without established relationships or proven track record. Success would require not only business competence, but also the ability to build trust and credibility quickly with clients who might be skeptical about working with someone new to independent practice. However, my months of research had convinced me that the construction industry was ready for the type of professional services I could provide. Contractors were struggling with increasingly complex projects and demanding clients while trying to maintain profitability in a competitive market. My education and systematic approach to business challenges represented solutions to problems that most contractors were experiencing, but didn't know how to address effectively. The knowledge that I was prepared to offer genuine value to potential clients gave me confidence that success was achievable through persistent effort and professional excellence. I wasn't trying to succeed through connections or favoritism, but through demonstrating that my services could improve efficiency, reduce costs, and enhance client satisfaction in measurable ways. This approach aligned with my values and played to my strengths while differentiating my services from competitors who relied primarily on personal relationships and traditional approaches. As I finalized preparations for launching Martinez Project Management Consulting, I reflected on how much my perspective had changed since that disappointing family dinner months earlier. What had initially felt like rejection and failure had become the catalyst for pursuing opportunities that were better aligned with my capabilities and ambitions. My family's refusal to recognize my potential had forced me to develop independence and confidence that would serve me well regardless of future challenges. The business cards, professional website, and marketing materials were ready. The office, space was leased and equipped with modern project management software and communication systems. Insurance policies were in place, and professional certifications were current. All that remained was to begin contacting potential clients and demonstrating that professional project management consulting could transform their business operations and profitability. The foundation for proving my worth had been established, and it was time to begin building something that would exceed everyone's expectations, including my own. The first 6 months of operating Martinez Project Management Consulting exceeded every projection in my business plan, but success came with unexpected revelations about my family's true opinion of my capabilities. My client base grew from 3 small residential contractors to 12 diverse construction companies handling everything from luxury home renovations to commercial office buildings. Each successful project demonstrated that professional management could dramatically improve efficiency and profitability, validating everything I had argued during those frustrating family meetings. My breakthrough client was Rodriguez Brothers Construction, a mid-sized firm specializing in custom homes in affluent Scottsdale neighborhoods. The Rodriguez brothers, Manuel and Antonio, had built a solid reputation for quality craftsmanship, but were struggling to manage the administrative complexity of multiple concurrent projects. Their typical pattern involved starting strong on new contracts, but experiencing delays and cost overruns as projects progressed and details became overwhelming. When Manuel contacted me about consulting services, his frustration was evident. 3 current projects were running behind schedule, 2 clients were threatening to withhold payments due to communication breakdowns, and the brothers were working 18-hour days trying to coordinate subcontractors, material deliveries, and client expectations. Their situation was exactly what my business model was designed to address, and I was confident that systematic project management could resolve their operational chaos. My first week working with Rodriguez Brothers revealed problems that were entirely preventable with proper planning and communication systems. Material orders were placed without coordinating delivery schedules, resulting in expensive storage costs and job site congestion. Subcontractors received conflicting instructions from different family members, leading to wasted time and mounting tensions. Client communications were handled inconsistently, with some homeowners receiving daily updates while others were left wondering about project progress for weeks. The transformation began with implementing digital project management, software that tracked every aspect of each construction project in real time. Material orders were scheduled to arrive just before installation, eliminating storage costs and reducing theft risk. Subcontractor schedules were coordinated to prevent conflicts and maximize efficiency. Client communications were standardized, with weekly progress reports that included photos, timelines, and any issues requiring decisions or approvals. Within 30 days, all 3 delayed projects were back on schedule, and client satisfaction scores improved dramatically. The Rodriguez brothers were able to reduce their daily involvement in administrative details and focus on quality control and business development. Most importantly, their profit margins increased by 22% due to elimination of waste, improved efficiency, and reduced overtime costs. Word of the Rodriguez brothers' transformation spread quickly through the tight-knit community of construction professionals in Scottsdale and Phoenix. Contractors who had initially been skeptical about hiring a young woman with limited field experience began requesting meetings to discuss how professional project management could benefit their operations. My phone started ringing with inquiries from companies experiencing similar challenges with project coordination and client communication. The referrals led to contracts with increasingly prestigious clients and more complex projects. Desert Innovations Construction hired me to manage their largest commercial project, a mixed-use development in downtown Tempe that included retail, office, and residential components. The project involved coordinating 15 different subcontractors, multiple city inspections, and demanding clients who expected constant updates on progress and budget status. Managing the Tempe project required every skill I had developed through education and experience, plus several new capabilities that I learned while solving problems in real time. The coordination challenges were exponentially more complex than residential construction, involving union requirements, environmental regulations, and zoning compliance issues that required constant attention and proactive management. The project became a masterclass in professional construction management that established my reputation as someone capable of handling major commercial work. The success of the Tempe project led to recognition within the broader Arizona construction industry. I was invited to speak at Arizona Construction Association meetings about modern project management techniques and was featured in Construction, Southwest Magazine as an example of how education and technology were transforming traditional construction practices. The professional recognition felt gratifying, but it also created an unexpected problem with my family relationships. News of my consulting success inevitably reached Martinez Construction through industry connections and mutual acquaintances. Initially, my parents seemed proud that I was achieving recognition within the construction community, treating my accomplishments as reflection of the excellent foundation they had provided through years of exposure to the family business. However, their attitude shifted when they realized that my consulting work was attracting attention from some of their longtime clients and competitors. The first indication of family tension came during a chance encounter with Carlos at a construction supply warehouse. He congratulated me on my business success, but then made comments about hoping that my consulting work wouldn't create conflicts with Martinez Construction projects. When I asked what he meant, Carlos explained that some industry professionals were suggesting that my availability might benefit Martinez Construction's competitors more than supporting family business interests. The conversation with Carlos revealed that my parents were beginning to view my independent success as potential threat rather than source of family pride. Their concern wasn't about my personal achievements, but about whether my consulting services might provide strategic advantages to companies competing against Martinez Construction for contracts. The irony was painful because I had initially offered to provide exactly these services to the family business, only to be told that my ideas were impractical and unnecessary. My relationship with Miguel became increasingly strained as my professional reputation grew within the Arizona construction community. During family gatherings, he would make pointed comments about the importance of family loyalty and the dangers of sharing business knowledge with competitors. When I mentioned new techniques or innovations I had discovered through consulting work, Miguel would dismiss them as academic theories that didn't apply to real construction challenges. The tension escalated when I was hired by Pinnacle Development Group to manage their luxury resort project in Sedona, a contract that Martinez Construction had unsuccessfully pursued for several months. Pinnacle had initially approached Martinez Construction about the project, but ultimately chose a different general contractor who offered superior project management capabilities. When Miguel learned that I was providing consulting services to the winning contractor, his reaction was explosive. The confrontation occurred during Sunday dinner at my parents' house, a weekly tradition that had become increasingly uncomfortable as my professional success grew. Miguel accused me of deliberately undermining Martinez Construction by helping competitors win contracts that should have gone to the family business. When I pointed out that Martinez Construction had chosen not to utilize my project management expertise, Miguel responded that family members shouldn't profit from knowledge gained within the family business. Carmen attempted to mediate the argument by suggesting that I should focus my consulting services on contractors who didn't compete directly with Martinez Construction. However, this restriction would have eliminated most of my potential clients, since Martinez Construction competed for nearly every type of construction project in the Phoenix metropolitan area. The family expectation was that I should either return to work for Martinez Construction or limit my consulting business to avoid any possibility of competitive conflict. The underlying issue wasn't really about business competition, but about control and recognition. My parents had invested years in building Martinez Construction's reputation and relationships within the Arizona construction community. My independent success suggested that their traditional approaches weren't the only path to industry recognition, which challenged their authority and expertise in ways that made them deeply uncomfortable. The family pressure intensified when Elena returned from California for Christmas holidays and immediately noticed the changed dynamics between me and our parents. Elena pulled me aside to ask about the obvious tension, and I explained how my consulting success had created unexpected conflicts with family expectations. Elena's response was supportive, but also illuminating about long-standing family patterns that I had been too close to recognize clearly. According to Elena, our parents had always struggled with children who achieved success outside of their direct influence and control. They were proud of accomplishments that reflected well on the family, but became threatened when those accomplishments suggested alternative paths to success. Elena had experienced similar pressure when her graphic design work began attracting clients and recognition, leading to subtle but persistent suggestions that she should use her creative skills to support Martinez Construction marketing rather than pursuing independent artistic goals. Elena's perspective helped me understand that the conflict with my parents wasn't really about business competition or family loyalty. It was about their need to maintain central control over family members' professional lives and their discomfort with success that they couldn't claim credit for creating. My consulting business represented independence that challenged their authority, regardless of whether it actually competed with Martinez Construction. The realization that family approval would always be conditional on maintaining subordinate status was liberating in unexpected ways. I stopped trying to balance family expectations with professional growth, and instead focused entirely on building the strongest possible consulting business. If my parents viewed my success as threat rather than achievement, then their opinion was irrelevant to my career decisions. My consulting business continued expanding rapidly as word spread about successful project outcomes and satisfied clients. I hired 2 additional project managers to handle increasing workload and began developing specialized services for different types of construction projects. The company was growing beyond what I had initially envisioned, creating opportunities to influence industry practices on a larger scale. The growth also attracted attention from national construction firms looking for project management expertise in the Southwest market. Several major contractors approached me about acquisition offers or partnership arrangements that would provide capital for expansion into other markets. These opportunities represented validation that my business model was valuable beyond the local Arizona construction community. However, the expansion also intensified the conflict with my family, as Martinez Construction began losing potential clients to competitors who offered professional project management services. Miguel's frustration with market changes became increasingly focused on my role in helping other contractors modernize their operations. Family gatherings became unbearable, as every conversation eventually led to accusations about divided loyalties and unfair competitive advantages. The breaking point came when Martinez Construction lost a major commercial contract to Phoenix Premier Construction, the company I had studied as a model for professional construction practices. Sarah Chen's company won the contract by demonstrating superior project management capabilities and offering more competitive pricing based on operational efficiency. When Miguel learned that I had previously analyzed Phoenix Premier's business model, he accused me of providing proprietary information to Martinez Construction's biggest competitor. The accusation was completely false since my analysis of Phoenix Premier Construction had been based entirely on publicly available information and industry observations. However, Miguel's willingness to believe that I would betray family business interests revealed how completely our relationship had deteriorated. The trust and respect that should form the foundation of family relationships had been destroyed by his inability to accept my professional independence. Carmen's response to the latest conflict was to suggest that the family needed to have an honest conversation about my role and expectations. She proposed a formal meeting where we could discuss whether there was any path forward that would satisfy both my professional ambitions and the family's business interests. I agreed to the meeting, though I suspected that my parents had already decided that my consulting business was incompatible with family harmony. The meeting was scheduled for the following Saturday at the Martinez Construction offices. the same conference room where I had presented so many ignored suggestions for operational improvements. The symbolism wasn't lost on me that we were returning to the place where my contributions had been consistently dismissed to discuss whether my success outside the family business was acceptable to people who had never valued my potential. As I prepared for what might be the final conversation about my place within the Martinez family dynamics, I reflected on how much had changed since that disappointing strategic planning retreat in Sedona. My consulting business had exceeded every goal I had set. My professional reputation was established throughout the Arizona construction industry, and my financial independence was secure. The validation I had sought from my family was no longer necessary because I had proven my worth to people who actually understood and valued professional competence. The irony was that Martinez Construction desperately needed exactly the type of professional project management services that my consulting business provided. Their traditional approaches were becoming less effective as construction projects became more complex, and clients demanded higher standards of communication and efficiency. However, family pride and control issues prevented them from acknowledging that the daughter they had dismissed possessed exactly the expertise they needed to remain competitive. The upcoming family meeting would determine whether any relationship was possible between my professional success and family acceptance, or whether I would need to choose between maintaining family connections and continuing to grow my business. Either way, I was prepared to prioritize my professional integrity and personal growth over family expectations that had proven to be conditional and limiting. My months of independent success had taught me that seeking approval from people who were threatened by my capabilities was ultimately futile and self-destructive. The family that had rejected my contributions when I needed their support was now demanding that I limit my success to make them more comfortable. That kind of conditional acceptance wasn't worth the sacrifice of opportunities that I had worked so hard to create. The Saturday morning meeting at Martinez Construction felt like walking into a courtroom where the verdict had already been decided. I arrived 15 minutes early and sat in the familiar conference room where I had once presented enthusiastic proposals for modernizing our operations, back when I still believed that competence and dedication would eventually earn me recognition. The irony of returning to this space to defend my right to professional independence wasn't lost on me as I reviewed my notes one final time. Miguel and Carmen entered together, their expressions serious and formal in a way that immediately set an adversarial tone. Carlos followed shortly after, avoiding eye contact as he took his seat across from me. The atmosphere felt more like a disciplinary hearing than a family discussion, which told me everything I needed to know about their intentions before anyone spoke a single word. Miguel opened the conversation by expressing his disappointment with how my consulting business had affected family relationships and Martinez Construction's competitive position. He acknowledged my professional success, but emphasized his concern that my independent activities were creating conflicts of interest that threatened the family business's long-term viability. His tone was measured and businesslike, as if he were addressing an employee rather than his daughter. Carmen's approach was more emotional, focusing on family unity and shared values that she believed were being compromised by my career choices. She spoke about the importance of supporting each other and questioned whether my consulting work was worth the damage it was causing to family relationships. Her comments revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of the situation, suggesting that I was choosing professional success over family loyalty, rather than recognizing that they had forced me to choose by rejecting my contributions. Carlos remained largely silent during the initial presentations, but his body language communicated disapproval and resentment more clearly than words could have. When he finally spoke, his comments focused on the unfair advantages that my consulting business provided to Martinez Construction's competitors. He argued that my knowledge of our family business operations, gained through years of involvement, was being used to help other contractors win contracts that should have come to us. The accusations were both hurtful and absurd because they completely ignored the actual timeline of events. I had repeatedly offered to provide professional project management services to Martinez Construction, only to be told that my ideas were impractical and unnecessary. My consulting business had developed independently, using knowledge gained through education and outside research rather than proprietary information from the family company. When it was my turn to respond, I calmly presented the facts about my consulting business development and client relationships. I explained that every technique and methodology I used had been learned through formal education, industry research, or experience with non-Martinez construction projects. I offered to provide complete documentation of my business practices to demonstrate that no proprietary information had been shared with competitors. More importantly, I reminded them that I had initially sought to apply my expertise within Martinez Construction and had been systematically excluded from meaningful decision-making roles. My consulting business existed because they had chosen not to utilize my capabilities, not because I had chosen to work against family interests. The success of my independent practice proved the value of exactly the type of professional management that I had tried to bring to the family business. Miguel's response revealed the true nature of their objections to my consulting work. He acknowledged that my services were valuable and that Martinez Construction could benefit from professional project management, but he insisted that my primary loyalty should be to family business interests rather than personal career advancement. In his view, my success outside the family company represented a betrayal of the foundation they had provided for my development. The conversation became increasingly heated as I challenged their assumption that I owed unlimited loyalty to a business that had never valued my contributions. I pointed out that family relationships should be based on mutual respect and support, not one-sided sacrifice of personal goals for others' benefit. My consulting business hadn't damaged family relationships. Their inability to accept my independent success had created the conflict. Carmen attempted to propose a compromise that would allow me to continue consulting while addressing their concerns about competitive conflicts. Her suggestion was that I should limit my services to contractors who operated outside Martinez Construction's immediate market area, perhaps focusing on projects in Tucson or other Arizona cities where we didn't directly compete for contracts. The compromise proposal was superficially reasonable, but fundamentally unworkable because it would have eliminated most of my potential clients and severely limited my business growth. Martinez Construction competed for virtually every type of quartier construction project in the Phoenix metropolitan area, which was where the majority of construction activity and potential clients were located. Accepting their restriction would have meant accepting permanent limitation of my professional potential to accommodate their discomfort with competition. I declined the compromise and instead made a counter-proposal that addressed the real issue underlying our conflict. I offered to provide professional project management consulting services to Martinez Construction on the same terms I offered to other clients, which would allow the family business to benefit from my expertise while maintaining my independence. This arrangement would eliminate any competitive disadvantage while preserving my ability to serve other clients. Miguel's rejection of my counter-proposal was immediate and absolute. He stated that family members shouldn't charge the family business for services, and that accepting my offer would set a precedent that undermined traditional family business relationships. His response revealed that the real issue wasn't business competition, but control and authority. They wanted access to my expertise without acknowledging its value or paying for professional services. The meeting deteriorated rapidly after Miguel's rejection of my proposal. Carlos accused me of being selfish and ungrateful for the opportunities the family had provided. Carmen expressed disappointment that I was choosing money over family relationships. Miguel suggested that my education had given me an inflated sense of my own importance and that I needed to remember where my knowledge and experience had come from. Their attacks were both personal and professional, designed to make me feel guilty for achieving success that they hadn't directly controlled or approved. The underlying message was clear. I could be successful as long as my success served their interests and remained subordinate to their authority. Independent achievement that demonstrated my capabilities without their involvement was unacceptable and disloyal. I realized during that heated exchange that the family meeting had been intended as an ultimatum rather than a negotiation. They wanted me to choose between maintaining family relationships and continuing my consulting business, expecting that fear of rejection would motivate me to sacrifice my professional independence. Their strategy might have worked months earlier, when I still desperately sought their approval, but my months of independent success had fundamentally changed my perspective on the value of conditional acceptance. My response was calm and decisive. I thanked them for their honesty about their expectations and explained that I couldn't accept limitations on my professional growth to accommodate their discomfort with competition. I valued family relationships, but not at the cost of sacrificing capabilities and opportunities that I had worked hard to develop. If they viewed my success as a threat rather than an achievement, then we had fundamentally different values about family support and professional development. The silence that followed my response was deafening. Miguel's face showed shock and anger that I had rejected their ultimatum. Carmen looked confused and hurt, as if she couldn't understand how family loyalty had become secondary to career ambitions. Carlos appeared almost relieved, as if my defiance confirmed his belief that I had never really belonged in the family business anyway. The meeting ended without resolution or agreement, with Miguel stating that I would need to accept the consequences of prioritizing business interests over family unity. Carmen added that she hoped I would reconsider my position once I understood how my choices were affecting family relationships. Carlos said nothing, but his expression suggested that he viewed my departure as inevitable and possibly beneficial for everyone involved. Walking out of the Martinez Construction offices that Saturday morning felt like closing a chapter of my life that had defined my identity for years. The building where I had learned construction fundamentals and developed my understanding of the industry would no longer be a place where I belonged or was welcome. The family business that I had hoped to help modernize and improve would continue operating without my input or involvement. However, the sense of loss was accompanied by an unexpected feeling of liberation. The conditional acceptance and constant criticism that had characterized my relationship with the family business were finally ended. I no longer needed to seek approval from people who viewed my capabilities as threats rather than assets. The energy I had wasted trying to prove my worth to an unappreciative audience could now be redirected toward building something that truly reflected my potential. The weeks following the family meeting brought a mix of personal challenges and professional opportunities that tested my resolve and confirmed my decision. Family gatherings became awkward and uncomfortable as everyone struggled to navigate the new dynamics created by my explicit rejection of their authority. Elena supported my choice but worried about the long-term impact on family relationships. David, now 16, seemed confused about why his sister's success was causing family conflict. Professional opportunities accelerated dramatically as word spread through the construction industry about my availability and expertise. National construction firms began approaching me about partnership arrangements and acquisition offers that would provide capital for expanding into new markets. Local contractors who had previously been hesitant to work with someone so closely connected to Martinez Construction now felt comfortable engaging my services. The most significant opportunity came from an unexpected source. Sarah Chen from Phoenix Premier Construction contacted me about a potential partnership that would combine her company's operational excellence with my project management expertise. Sarah had been following my consulting work and believed that our complementary skills could create a regional construction powerhouse capable of competing for major commercial and residential projects throughout the Southwest. Sarah's partnership proposal was both flattering and strategically compelling. Phoenix Premier Construction had the contracts, reputation, and operational infrastructure to support significant growth, but lacked the systematic project management capabilities that my consulting business had developed. Combining our resources would create immediate competitive advantages while providing opportunities for expansion that neither of us could achieve independently. The partnership discussions revealed that Sarah had experienced similar challenges with traditional construction industry attitudes toward educated professionals, particularly women who brought business expertise to field-oriented operations. Her success had been built on proving that professional management and quality craftsmanship were complementary rather than competing priorities. The partnership would allow us to demonstrate that combination on a much larger scale. Negotiating the partnership agreement required careful consideration of ownership structures, operational responsibilities, and long-term growth strategies. Sarah proposed a merger that would create a new company combining Phoenix Premier's existing contracts and operations with my project management systems and client relationships. The financial terms were generous and reflected the value that my consulting business had established within the Arizona construction market. The merger also provided an opportunity to implement the types of systematic improvements and professional practices that I had originally hoped to bring to Martinez Construction. The new company would serve as a model for how education, technology, and traditional construction expertise could be integrated to create superior client experiences and operational efficiency. As I prepared to finalize the partnership agreement with Sarah, news of the impending merger reached the Arizona construction community and inevitably came to my family's attention. The announcement that I was joining forces with Phoenix Premier Construction, Martinez Construction's most successful competitor, provoked exactly the reaction I had expected from Miguel and Carmen. Miguel's phone call was furious and accusatory, claiming that I was deliberately attempting to destroy the family business by strengthening our biggest competitor. He accused me of using insider knowledge to benefit Phoenix Premier and suggested that my actions constituted betrayal of everything the family had built over 3 generations. His anger was genuine but misdirected, focusing on my choices rather than acknowledging the circumstances that had led to those choices. Carmen's approach was more manipulative, appealing to family loyalty and suggesting that my partnership with Sarah Chen would permanently damage relationships with extended family and longtime family friends within the construction community. She warned that choosing business success over family relationships would leave me isolated and regretful once the excitement of professional achievement faded. Their reactions confirmed that I had made the correct decision in rejecting their limitations and pursuing independent opportunities. The family that claimed to love and support me was actually threatened by my success and determined to limit my potential to protect their own position. True family support would have celebrated my achievements and encouraged my growth, not demanded that I sacrifice opportunities to maintain their comfort level. The merger with Phoenix Premier Construction was completed 3 months after that. Final family meeting, creating Southwest Premier Construction with combined revenues exceeding $15 million annually. My role as Chief Operating Officer gave me responsibility for all project management and client relations, while Sarah retained oversight of field operations and strategic planning. The partnership exceeded our most optimistic projections for client satisfaction, operational efficiency, and profitability. Our success attracted attention from major developers and construction firms throughout the Southwest, leading to contracts for prestigious projects that established Southwest Premier Construction as one of Arizona's premier commercial and residential contractors. The professional recognition and financial rewards confirmed that my decision to prioritize capability over family expectations had been strategically sound as well as personally necessary. More importantly, the partnership demonstrated that professional excellence and mutual respect could create business relationships that were both successful and personally fulfilling. Sarah valued my contributions and expertise in ways that my family never had, creating an environment where my capabilities could be fully utilized and developed. The contrast between my partnership with Sarah and my relationship with Martinez Construction highlighted how much potential I had been wasting by accepting conditional acceptance from people who viewed my education as a liability rather than an asset. 2 years after the merger, Southwest Premier Construction had grown to become the largest independently owned construction firm in Arizona. with over 200 employees and projects throughout the Southwest. Our success had been built on exactly the type of professional management and systematic efficiency that I had originally tried to bring to Martinez Construction, proving that those approaches were valuable and practical rather than academic and irrelevant. The growth also created opportunities to influence construction industry practices on a regional scale. We implemented safety standards, environmental practices, and professional development programs that became models for other contractors throughout Arizona and neighboring states. The company served as proof that construction could be both profitable and professionally managed, challenging traditional assumptions about the incompatibility of education and practical experience. My relationship with my family gradually evolved, from hostile to distant but civil, though trust and mutual respect were never fully restored. Elena maintained supportive contact and occasionally visited our offices to see the company we had built. David showed interest in construction management and asked thoughtful questions about our business practices during family gatherings. Miguel and Carmen remained polite but formal, treating me more like a distant acquaintance than a daughter. The most satisfying development was watching Martinez Construction struggle with exactly the types of operational challenges that professional project management could have prevented. Their traditional approaches became increasingly inadequate as construction projects grew more complex, and client expectations evolved. Several longtime clients switched to Southwest Premier Construction, citing superior communication and project coordination as determining factors in their decisions. Martinez Construction's declining market position vindicated every argument I had made about the need for modernization and professional management. However, I felt no satisfaction in their struggles because their problems were entirely preventable and stemmed from pride and stubbornness rather than external market forces. The family business that had rejected my expertise was discovering that dismissing professional capabilities had consequences that extended far beyond hurt feelings. Carlos contacted me unexpectedly during Southwest Premier Construction's third year of operation, requesting a private meeting to discuss potential collaboration between our companies. The conversation was awkward and uncomfortable, as Carlos acknowledged that Martinez Construction needed the type of project management expertise that my company had developed. He suggested that family relationships might allow for mutually beneficial arrangements that could help both companies. My response was professional but firm. I explained that Southwest Premier Construction worked exclusively with contractors who valued professional excellence and mutual respect, standards that Martinez Construction had demonstrated they couldn't meet during my years of attempting to contribute to their operations. Family relationships couldn't substitute for business compatibility when fundamental values and approaches were incompatible. Carlos's request revealed that the family finally understood the value of what they had rejected, but their recognition came too late to repair the damage caused by years of dismissal and condescension. The expertise they now desperately needed had been developed independently and was no longer available to them on the terms they might have preferred. Today, Southwest Premier Construction employs over 300 people and generates annual revenues exceeding $30 million. Our projects have transformed skylines throughout Arizona and established new standards for construction quality and professional management. The company serves as proof that education and experience can be combined to create exceptional results when both are valued and utilized effectively. My personal satisfaction comes not from financial success or professional recognition, though both have exceeded my original expectations. The real achievement is building something that demonstrates the potential that my family never recognized or valued. The capabilities they dismissed as impractical and irrelevant became the foundation for creating exactly the type of construction company that the industry needed, but traditional approaches couldn't deliver. The journey from rejected daughter to successful business owner taught me that seeking approval from people who are threatened by your potential is ultimately futile and self-destructive. The validation I had desperately sought from my family was never going to be freely given, because my success challenged their authority and expertise in ways that made them fundamentally uncomfortable. More importantly, I learned that family relationships based on conditional acceptance and limited expectations aren't worth preserving when they require sacrificing personal growth and professional potential. True family support celebrates achievement and encourages development rather than demanding subordination and sacrifice for others' comfort. For anyone facing similar challenges with family businesses or family members who don't value your contributions, remember that your worth isn't determined by their recognition or approval. Sometimes the people who should support your growth are actually the ones most threatened by your potential. In those situations, the choice between family acceptance and personal fulfillment isn't really a choice at all. The construction company that my family said would never welcome me now operates under my leadership and reflects my vision for how professional management and quality craftsmanship can be combined to create exceptional results. The expertise they dismissed as irrelevant has become the foundation for success that exceeds everything they thought possible for someone they considered too educated for construction work. Building Southwest Premier Construction required every capability I had developed through education, experience, and determination. More importantly, it required the confidence to value my own potential more than other people's approval. The family that rejected my contributions taught me an invaluable lesson about the difference between conditional acceptance and genuine support, though probably not the lesson they intended to provide. The acquisition opportunity that would change everything arrived on a Tuesday morning in October, exactly 3 years after that devastating family meeting where I had been forced to choose between conditional acceptance and professional independence. I was reviewing quarterly financial reports for Southwest Premier Construction when my assistant knocked on my office door with unusual urgency, explaining that Marcus Webb from Interstate Business Brokers was on the phone with what he described as a time-sensitive opportunity that required immediate attention. Marcus's call concerned Martinez Construction, though he was careful not to mention the family connection initially. His firm had been retained to facilitate the sale of a mid-sized construction company that was experiencing significant financial difficulties and needed to find a buyer quickly to avoid bankruptcy proceedings. The company had valuable contracts, established client relationships, and solid reputation within the Arizona construction community. But operational challenges and management problems had created unsustainable financial pressures. When Marcus revealed that the company in question was Martinez Construction, the irony was so profound that I initially thought someone was playing an elaborate practical joke. The family business that had rejected my expertise and dismissed my potential was now being offered for sale due to exactly the types of operational and management problems that professional project management could have prevented. Their traditional approaches and resistance to modernization had finally created consequences that threatened the company's survival. Marcus explained that Martinez Construction's financial situation had deteriorated rapidly over the past 18 months due to a combination of cost overruns, project delays, and client dissatisfaction that had damaged their reputation and reduced their ability to win new contracts. Several major projects had exceeded budget by significant margins, creating cash flow problems that were exacerbated by clients withholding payments due to quality and timeline issues. The details of Martinez Construction's decline were both predictable and preventable, representing exactly the scenarios I had warned about during my futile attempts to modernize their operations years earlier. Their informal project management approach had proven inadequate for handling complex commercial projects, resulting in coordination failures, material waste, and scheduling conflicts that multiplied costs and extended timelines beyond client tolerance. More significantly, their resistance to professional communication systems and client relationship management had created reputation problems that were affecting their ability to compete for new contracts. Construction clients increasingly expected regular progress updates, transparent budget reporting, and proactive problem-solving that Martinez Construction's traditional approaches couldn't provide consistently. Marcus's description of the company's problems read like a case study in the consequences of rejecting professional management practices. Every operational challenge he mentioned was something I had identified and proposed solutions for during my years of attempting to contribute to family business improvement. Their current crisis represented the cumulative result of years of dismissing exactly the type of expertise that could have prevented these problems. The financial details were sobering. Martinez Construction owed substantial amounts to suppliers, and subcontractors had pending legal issues with dissatisfied clients, and was carrying debt that exceeded their assets by significant margins. The company that had once been valued at several $1 million was now available for approximately $800,000, primarily representing the value of existing contracts and client relationships. However, Marcus also emphasized that the underlying business had strong potential for recovery under competent management. The Martinez name still carried weight within certain segments of the Arizona construction market, and several longtime clients remained loyal despite recent problems. With proper operational systems and professional management, the company could potentially be restored to profitability within 12 to 18 months. The acquisition opportunity presented both personal and professional considerations that required careful analysis. From a business perspective, purchasing Martinez Construction would provide Southwest Premier Construction with additional contracts, expanded client relationships, and elimination of a competitor that had been struggling but still occasionally won contracts that we might have preferred to secure ourselves. The emotional aspects were more complex and potentially problematic. Acquiring the family business that had rejected me would represent the ultimate vindication of my capabilities and the complete reversal of the power dynamics that had defined our relationship for years. However, the acquisition would also force direct confrontation with family members who had never acknowledged their mistakes or expressed regret for their treatment of my contributions. I requested detailed financial statements, legal documentation, and operational assessments that would allow me to evaluate the acquisition opportunity purely on business merits, rather than emotional considerations. Marcus provided comprehensive due diligence materials that painted a stark picture of systematic mismanagement and operational deterioration that had accelerated since my departure from family involvement. The financial analysis revealed that Martinez Construction's problems extended far beyond temporary cash flow difficulties. Their cost accounting systems were inadequate for tracking project profitability accurately, which meant they had been systematically underbidding contracts without understanding their true costs. Several recent projects had lost money that couldn't be recovered, creating ongoing financial obligations that exceeded the company's ability to generate positive cash flow. Their client relationship problems were equally severe, with multiple ongoing disputes about project quality, timeline delays, and communication failures. Several major clients had publicly stated that they would not consider Martinez Construction for future projects unless significant improvements were made to their operations and management practices. Most tellingly, their employee turnover had increased dramatically as experienced workers left for competitors who offered better working conditions and more professional management. The institutional knowledge and relationships that had been Martinez Construction's primary competitive advantages were being eroded by the exodus of longtime employees who had lost confidence in the company's direction and stability. The operational assessment confirmed that virtually every system and process within Martinez Construction needed modernization and professional management. Their project management remained largely manual and paper-based, creating coordination problems and information gaps that multiplied throughout complex projects. Their safety protocols were outdated and inconsistently enforced, creating liability risks that could result in expensive accidents or regulatory penalties. Their technology infrastructure was approximately 5 years behind industry standards, limiting their ability to compete effectively for clients who expected modern communication and project tracking capabilities. Their marketing and business development efforts were minimal and unsophisticated, relying primarily on personal relationships that were increasingly insufficient in a competitive market that valued professional presentation and systematic approaches. After completing the due diligence analysis, I concluded that Martinez Construction could be acquired and successfully integrated into Southwest Premier Construction's operations, but only if significant capital was invested in modernization and systematic improvements. The acquisition would essentially involve purchasing the brand name, existing contracts, and client relationships while completely rebuilding the operational infrastructure and management systems. The financial projections for the acquisition were encouraging despite the extensive improvements required. Martinez Construction's existing contracts would provide immediate revenue that could support the integration costs, while their client relationships would expand Southwest Premier Construction's market presence in segments where we had limited penetration. The elimination of competitive pricing pressure would also benefit both companies' profit margins. More importantly, the acquisition would demonstrate Southwest Premier Construction's capacity for growth through strategic acquisitions, potentially attracting additional expansion opportunities and positioning us as a regional consolidator within the fragmented Arizona construction market. The successful turnaround of Martinez Construction would serve as a case study for our operational excellence and management capabilities. The personal satisfaction of acquiring the family business that had rejected my potential was undeniable, though I was determined not to allow emotional considerations to override sound business judgment. The acquisition had to make financial sense for Southwest Premier Construction and our employees, regardless of any symbolic value related to family dynamics and past conflicts. Sarah Chen supported the acquisition enthusiastically, recognizing both the strategic benefits and the poetic justice involved in purchasing our former competitor. However, she also emphasized the importance of maintaining professional standards and avoiding any decisions that might be motivated by personal satisfaction rather than business logic. Her perspective helped ensure that our evaluation remained focused on objective criteria rather than emotional considerations. The acquisition negotiations required careful handling because Marcus Webb was representing Martinez Construction's interests while remaining unaware of my family connection to the company. I instructed my legal team to conduct all communications through intermediaries to avoid revealing my identity until the transaction was finalized, preventing any attempts to manipulate the process based on family relationships or emotional appeals. Miguel and Carmen were apparently unaware that Southwest Premier Construction was the potential buyer, believing instead that they were negotiating with an unnamed investor group that specialized in construction company acquisitions. This misunderstanding allowed the negotiations to proceed based purely on financial and operational considerations, without the complications that family involvement might have created. The purchase agreement was structured to protect Southwest Premier Construction from Martinez Construction's existing liabilities, while ensuring that we acquired the valuable assets and relationships that justified the acquisition price. The transaction included immediate assumption of profitable contracts, transfer of client relationships, and retention of key employees who were essential for operational continuity. However, the agreement also specified that certain management positions would be eliminated as part of the operational restructuring required to integrate Martinez Construction into Southwest Premier Construction's systems and processes. These eliminations were presented as necessary cost reductions and efficiency improvements rather than personal decisions about individual performance or value. The closing meeting was scheduled for a Friday morning at Marcus Webb's offices, with all parties signing final documents and transferring ownership of Martinez Construction to Southwest Premier Construction. I had decided to attend the closing personally rather than sending representatives, recognizing that this moment represented the culmination of years of professional development and family conflict. When Miguel and Carmen arrived at the closing meeting and discovered that I was the buyer they had been negotiating with, their reactions were immediate and intense. Miguel's face showed shock and anger that quickly transformed into humiliation as he realized that his daughter had acquired the family business that he had been forced to sell due to mismanagement and operational failures. Carmen's response was more complex, combining surprise and hurt with what appeared to be grudging respect for my business success and strategic positioning. She seemed to understand immediately that my acquisition of Martinez Construction represented both personal vindication and professional achievement that she had never expected when they rejected my contributions years earlier. Carlos attended the meeting as a representative of Martinez Construction's management team, though his role in the transaction was primarily ceremonial since he had no ownership stake in the company. His discomfort was obvious as he watched his younger sister complete the purchase of the family business while he became an employee subject to her decisions about his future employment. The closing proceeded smoothly despite the emotional tension, with all legal documents signed and ownership formally transferred to Southwest Premier Construction. The transaction was completed exactly as negotiated, with no last-minute complications or attempts to renegotiate terms based on the family relationships involved. After the documents were signed and ownership was transferred, I addressed Miguel, Carmen, and Carlos directly for the first time since our confrontational family meeting 3 years earlier. My comments were professional and businesslike, focusing on the operational changes that would be necessary to integrate Martinez Construction into Southwest Premier Construction's systems and standards. I explained that all existing Martinez Construction employees would be evaluated for retention based on their skills, performance, and compatibility with Southwest Premier Construction's operational requirements and professional standards. Positions that duplicated existing Southwest Premier functions would be eliminated, while valuable employees would be offered opportunities within the expanded organization. Miguel asked directly about his future role within the combined company, apparently hoping that family relationships might provide some protection from the personnel changes that the acquisition would inevitably require. My response was clear and unambiguous. Management positions would be filled based on qualifications and performance rather than family connections or historical relationships. Carmen inquired about preserving the Martinez Construction name and brand identity, suggesting that the company's reputation and client relationships were valuable assets that should be maintained rather than absorbed into Southwest Premier Construction's corporate identity. I acknowledged the brand value but explained that operational efficiency required standardization of systems, processes, and presentation. Carlos remained silent throughout most of the discussion, apparently recognizing that his position within the combined organization would depend entirely on his ability to adapt to professional standards and systematic approaches that had been foreign to Martinez Construction's traditional operations. The meeting concluded with my announcement that all Martinez Construction operations would be integrated into Southwest Premier Construction within 60 days, with new management structure, updated systems, and professional standards implemented throughout the transition period. Former Martinez Construction employees who demonstrated competence and adaptability would be offered permanent positions within the expanded organization. However, I also made clear that the integration would require elimination of management, positions that were redundant or inconsistent with Southwest Premier Construction's operational requirements. These eliminations would be based on objective criteria related to job performance, professional qualifications, and compatibility with our company culture and standards. The implication was obvious to everyone present. Miguel, Carmen, and Carlos would need to demonstrate their value as employees rather than assuming that family relationships provided any protection or preferential treatment. Their future with the combined company would depend entirely on their ability to meet professional standards and contribute effectively to our operational objectives. Walking out of that closing meeting as the owner of Martinez Construction felt like completing a journey that had begun with family rejection and evolved through professional development into ultimate vindication. The company that had dismissed my potential now belonged to me, and the family members who had questioned my capabilities were now subject to my decisions about their professional futures. However, the satisfaction was tempered by recognition that the acquisition represented both personal triumph and family tragedy. The business that 3 generations of Martinez family members had built was being sold because current leadership had failed to adapt to changing industry requirements and professional standards. The integration of Martinez Construction into Southwest Premier Construction proceeded exactly as planned, with systematic evaluation of all employees and elimination of redundant management positions. Miguel was offered a position as a senior project supervisor, recognizing his technical expertise, while removing him from strategic decision-making responsibilities that he had proven unable to handle effectively. Carmen was offered a consultant role focused on client relationship management for longtime Martinez Construction accounts, utilizing her knowledge of established relationships while limiting her involvement in operational decisions that required systematic approaches and professional standards. Carlos was terminated during the integration process after failing to demonstrate competence in project management responsibilities and repeatedly challenging new systems and procedures that were essential for operational efficiency. His inability to adapt to professional standards and systematic approaches made him incompatible with Southwest Premier Construction's requirements. The successful integration of Martinez Construction validated every argument I had made about the importance of professional management and systematic operations. Within 6 months, the former Martinez Construction projects were running on schedule and under budget. Client satisfaction had improved dramatically, and profitability had been restored through elimination of waste and implementation of efficient processes. The acquisition also demonstrated Southwest Premier Construction's capacity for strategic growth through targeted acquisitions, attracting attention from other construction companies and potential investors who recognized our ability to improve operational performance and financial results. Our reputation as a company that could successfully acquire and integrate struggling competitors positioned us for additional expansion opportunities throughout the Southwest. Today, 5 years after acquiring Martinez Construction, Southwest Premier Construction has grown into the largest construction company in Arizona, with annual revenues exceeding $60 million and over 500 employees. Our success has been built on exactly the combination of professional management and quality craftsmanship that I originally tried to bring to the family business. The irony isn't lost on me that the expertise my family rejected as impractical and irrelevant became the foundation for building something far more successful than Martinez Construction ever achieved under their leadership. The capabilities they dismissed as academic theories proved to be exactly what the construction industry needed for sustained growth and profitability. My relationship with Miguel and Carmen has evolved into professional cordiality rather than family closeness, though they have gradually acknowledged that my business approach was correct and their resistance to change was ultimately destructive. Carlos has found employment with another construction company where his traditional approaches are still valued, though his career prospects remain limited by his inability to adapt to modern professional standards. Elena has become one of Southwest Premier Construction's most valuable assets, using her graphic design expertise to create marketing materials and client presentations that differentiate us from competitors who still rely on traditional relationship-based approaches. David joined the company after completing his construction management degree, and has demonstrated the type of professional competence and systematic thinking that our operations require. The transformation of Martinez Construction from family business to professional operation serves as a case study in the importance of adapting to changing industry requirements and embracing professional management practices. The company that rejected modernization was ultimately acquired by the very expertise it had dismissed, proving that competence and systematic approaches are essential for long-term success in any competitive industry. For anyone dealing with family businesses or family members who resist professional development and systematic improvements, remember that your value isn't determined by their recognition or acceptance. Sometimes the people who should support your growth are actually the ones most threatened by change and professional excellence. The construction company that once dismissed my potential now operates under my leadership and reflects my vision for combining professional management with quality craftsmanship. The acquisition wasn't about revenge or family conflict. It was about demonstrating that professional competence and systematic approaches are essential for sustained success in any competitive industry. Building Southwest Premier Construction. into Arizona's largest construction company required every capability I developed through education, experience, and determination to prove my worth independently. More importantly, it required the confidence to value professional excellence over family approval and to build something that reflected my potential rather than their limitations. The family that rejected my contributions taught me that seeking approval from people who are threatened by your capabilities is ultimately counterproductive and self-limiting. The validation I desperately sought from them was never going to be freely given because my success challenged their authority and expertise in ways that made them fundamentally uncomfortable with change and professional development. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.